So, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're shifting gears a bit. We're not looking at markets, not geopolitics.
Yeah.
We are maybe taking the deepest dive we can.
We are.
Right into the anatomy of human contentment.
Yeah, and we're trying to move past the surface level idea of happiness. We're exploring a really profound spiritual principle called Ret, which you could translate sort of loosely as absolute surrender or perfect contentment with divine decree. And to do that, we've been deep in the historical sources, mainly some excerpts from the medieval scholar Ibn al-Jawzi.
And our mission for this deep dive, it sounds simple, but it's really not. We want to understand how a person can get to a state where their internal peace is just unshakable.
Right.
Regardless of what's happening on the outside. And this isn't just theory. We're looking for the how. The actual mechanism, that moment of gnosis, of real knowledge, that just kills internal conflict.
And if you want to study that, you have to look at the case studies.
The ultimate examples.
Primarily the Prophet Muhammad and his companions. And the source material starts with this very clear foundation. You cannot get to this state of peace without first integrating two core ideas.
Okay, the foundational pillars. Let's unpack that first one.
The first one, Ibn al-Jawzi calls the gnosis of ownership. Or you could say the Malik principle.
Malik.
It's when an individual gets to a true functional knowledge of the creator and they realize the creator is the absolute owner, the Malik. And that means you are the owned possession, the Mamluk.
That sounds, for you listening, that's intense. In our world, everything is about autonomy, self-ownership, control.
Absolutely.
And so much of our anxiety comes from losing that control. So if your starting point is, I don't belong to myself, doesn't that feel suffocating?
You'd think so, but the sources argue it's the exact opposite. It's liberating. True knowledge of ownership actually, it reduces anxiety because it takes the burden off your shoulders.
How so?
Well, when you understand the covenant, that the owner has purchased the souls and properties of the believers in exchange for paradise, you accept that the owner can do what he wants with what he owns.
Okay.
If your faith breaks, you don't argue with the phone. You accept what the manufacturer, the owner, has determined. When you realize the cosmos isn't your job to manage, a lot of that stress it vanishes.
I see. So the shift is from why is this happening to me to this is happening to something that belongs to the owner. But that's not enough, is it? An owner could be careless.
Exactly. And that brings us to the second principle. The second pillar is the gnosis of wisdom, the Ekam principle. It's not enough to know you're owned. You have to know the owner is perfectly wise. Ekam.
Okay, so every action has a purpose.
A perfect purpose. This wisdom means the creator does nothing in vain, nothing randomly. The Arabic word is abathan. Every single event, no matter how chaotic or painful it looks from down here, has a reason.
So if I put those two together, I am owned and my owner is perfectly wise, then the logical outcome is just complete surrender.
Taslim, that's the word. And that's where the theory, hits the road.
Right.
The texts say that when this knowledge is fully baked in, calamities can strike, and there is found from him no change or grumbling. And crucially, it even gets rid of that silent internal complaint.
That little voice?
That little voice, the tafuf, that's asking, why me? Why now?
Why?
A person who is truly content stops trying to negotiate with reality.
So how does this actually hold up under pressure? We need some extreme examples here. Ibn al-Jawzi is clear on this. We have to look at the highest example. The Prophet Muhammad. His life was just one trial after another.
And not just trials. The sources say he was subjected to the maximum level of trauma, psychologically and physically, that a human could bear. And yet, his stability was like a mountain to strong winds. He didn't just endure it, he was at peace through it.
Okay, give us an example, something visceral.
The journey to If? Think about it. After more than a decade of preaching in Mecca, facing rejection, persecution, he goes to If, hoping for support, refuge.
And he gets the opposite.
Complete rejection. They turned the town's children on him, told them to stone him.
Stoned by children. The humiliation of that alone.
It's crippling. And the attack was so bad, the source says he was running from them until his heel bone, the protruding bones on your ankle.
Yeah.
One was exposed, bleeding everywhere. So you have physical agony, total rejection, the failure of his mission all at once.
So what does he do?
The angel of the mountains comes and offers to crush the whole town for him, and he says no. His response is a prayer for them. Perhaps God will bring forth from their loins generations who will worship him alone.
No vengeance at all. Just surrender to what the future might hold.
Exactly. But what about deliberate personal humiliation, the kind designed to break you?
Yeah, the public stuff.
There's the famous incident during his prayer. He's in prostration, sujud, the lowest point of worship. And an enemy comes and puts the placenta of a slaughtered camel on his back. A heavy, disgusting, foul object.
In public.
Yeah.
While he's praying. The normal human reaction is just instant rage. Or at least you'd break your prayer, right? Defend yourself.
And that's what makes it so powerful. He didn't move. He stayed completely still in his prayer, enduring it until his daughter came and removed it. He was so settled in the knowledge that even this moment, this act of human evil, was part of the decree. He was just a mountain of peace.
But I think the hardest trials aren't always physical. They're the long, slow, internal ones, like the slander against his wife, Adisha. That kind of pain, it eats at you for weeks.
That was a massive test, not just for him, but for the whole community. The city was full of gossip, the truth was unknown, and you can see in the sources he was in real distress.
Of course.
But his response, through the extreme hunger when he had to tie a stone to his stomach, it was always the same. He never once expressed regret or hypothetical objection.
He never said, if only.
He never uttered the phrase, if only it had been different. That phrase, if only, is the sound of resisting destiny, resisting qadar. For him, the decrees were just reality, non-negotiable.
And we have a witness to this consistency, someone who saw him every single day.
Yes, Anas ibn Malik. He served the Prophet for 10 years. 10 years. And he said, I served the messenger of God for 10 years, and he never said to me, why did you do that? Or, if only you had done this.
10 years of not a single complaint, even for the small stuff.
It means the surrender was total. Now let's see what that looks like when it translates into actual, tangible power on the battlefield.
Okay, so we're moving from internal peace to external force.
Right. And this brings us to a companion named Muhammad bin Wasi. He was known for his devotion. They called him Zayn al-Qura, the Ornament of Reciters.
So what was the situation?
The commander Qutayba bin Muslim al-Bahili was about to face a Roman army. An army so huge it was described as being like sand, countless. And Qutayba, who was a genius commander, knew right away this wasn't a battle they could win with swords and numbers. They needed something else.
Spiritual leverage.
Yeah.
Not more soldiers.
Exactly. So he turns to his aides and asks, where's Muhammad ibn Wasi? This was the guy who cried so much in his night prayers that his eyelids would swell shut. He had to use coal just to pry them open in the morning.
A physical sign of his inner state. So where did they find him?
The messenger comes back and says he's not sharpening his sword, he's not checking his armor, he's just leaning on his bow, pointing his index finger up to the sky, silent, lost in supplication.
And Qutayba's response. This is the amazing part.
His face just lit up, and he declared victory. Right there. He said, and this is the famous quote, "The finger of Muhammad ibn Wasi is dearer to me than 100,000 young strong men and a famous sword."
100,000. He understood that the power coming from that total surrender was the real weapon.
It was the decisive factor, far more than military might, and this state also meant he had zero attachment to material things.
Which proves he'd really internalized that gnosis of ownership we talked about.
Absolutely. After they won, they gathered the spoils of war, including this incredible head made of solid gold. Everyone's staring at it, and Muhammad ibn Wasi is brought forward. He takes one look at it and gives it to a beggar.
Just gives it away. A solid gold head. What was his reasoning?
He just said, what remains is what you spend. He saw no value in earning it. The only value was in its use. It's the ultimate practical example of knowing you don't really own anything anyway.
And when they asked him later, what were you actually doing with your finger pointed to the sky?
He had this beautiful explanation. He said he was gathering the scattered paths.
Gathering the scattered paths.
Yeah, he was taking all the chaos of the world, the fear, the logistics, the desire for victory, and just unifying it all through his connection to the divine owner, simplifying it all down to one single point of submission.
Okay, now that we've seen the peak of this, let's step back. It's important to understand how unique this level of surrender really was. The source material actually contrasts the Prophet Muhammad's responses with other great prophets.
And this isn't about ranking them, it's about calibrating our understanding. It shows the difference between a justified human reaction and this absolute perfect surrender.
So let's start with Adam.
Adam was given all of paradise, everything. Yet his desire, his shawa, focused on the one thing he couldn't have, the forbidden tree.
Right.
Contrast that with Muhammad, who was offered the treasures of the world and prayed only for just basic sufficiency for his family. He actively rejected worldly attachment.
Okay, what about Noah? He suffered for centuries.
And in his grief, his kamad, he cried out for the complete destruction of his people. It's a totally justified desire for justice. But Muhammad, facing similar rejection at Dif, prayed for their guidance, saying, "For they do not know."
Forgiveness over judgment.
Always. And the comparison with Moses is really stark when it comes to resisting fate.
How?
Well, with the golden calf, Moses cries out, "This is nothing but your trial," which shows a kind of resistance to the decree. And more famously, when the angel of death came for him, he physically pushed him away. It's that powerful, natural human instinct to fight fate.
But Muhammad.
When he was given the choice between more life or death, he just said, "The highest companion." No hesitation, no resistance.
And finally, Solomon. The question of ambition versus sufficiency.
Solomon asked God for a kingdom, mulka, like no one else would ever have, a request for ultimate external control. Muhammad prayed for his family to have just enough, to be full one day and grateful and hungry the next and patient.
When you lay it all out like that,
Yeah.
it's just so clear. You're looking at someone whose knowledge of existence was so profound that his own personal desires just dissolved, and with them, all complaint.
And if we bring this all back to you listening to this, the takeaway is simple, but it's not easy. Contentment isn't about getting what you want.
It's not about control.
It comes from that deep, bone-deep realization that you are owned by a perfectly wise creator. That understanding gives you peace because you stop wasting energy on the what-ifs and the if-only.
Because it means that everything that happens, from the tiniest annoyance to a huge catastrophe, is purposeful. It's exactly as it's meant to be.
It's the ultimate form of accepting reality.
And we'll leave you with this one thought. It's a quote from the companion Ibn Masud, and it just perfectly captures this state. He said, "I wake up, and nothing is dearer to me than the places of destiny."
Mawati al-Qadar. To genuinely love every single event of your life.
Just think about that. What would it actually mean to be able to say, honestly, that you love every single thing that has ever happened to you and ever will happen? Good, bad, easy, hard. Simply because it is the decree of the wise owner. That's a powerful shift to consider. Until the next deep dive, keep learning.